Hey everybody, welcome to the video, welcome to the channel. This is my John Deere 755. In my personal opinion, one of the best compact series, the 55 series tractors that John Deere / Yanmar ever made. And we'll talk about a couple things on it, but what we're getting into today, engine removal, parts removal, 3-point removal. This thing is ready for an overhaul. We use the absolute heck out of this unit, and I had a decision to make. Should I just go ahead and buy a new tractor since we've worn this one down pretty good? We'll put a little time and effort into this one. I'll tell you why. Where do we start? So the big things we've got going on, aside from the rear tire that doesn't hold air, which will hopefully be on the list, we've got some engine mount issues all the way around, which is what's leading to that oil issue because the seal on the back of the engine has been worn out from excessive vibration. And we've got a fuel issue, which I'm sure you can hear. And I don't know, filter's good, system's good, doesn't seem like it's pulling in air anywhere. I think we're good on that. So it's probably either an injector issue or a fuel pump issue. My plan is to get those components off and mail them up to area diesel service and have them go through the injectors and the fuel pump and see what needs replaced, if anything at all, and what can be rebuilt. That's what we're going to do for the fuel issue. Go ahead and get this hood off real quick. Stealing a page out of Neil Koff's book. We're going to try a thing called organization on this. It's new for me. We'll give it a go. Probably ought to disconnect the battery at some point. That seems like a good idea. No. Okay. Let's go ahead and take it out of there. So this tractor had 718 hours on it when we bought it. And best I can recollect, that was sometime around 2016. And now it's got 718 hours on it. So the hour meter definitely doesn't work. But if you've been with the channel for a little bit, you know we run the absolute heck out of this thing. I'd love for you to put in the comments your guess of how many hours this machine actually has on it. I'm going to say probably around 2,000. It could be more. It could be less. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. Sure, I could check my service records that I diligently keep. And there was a very brief time where I thought, you know, maybe we could get a new tractor. Huh? Why not? Then I did a little bit of thinking about it. The closest thing to John Deere, best that I could find, that's similar to this in weight and horsepower is their 1025R. And the best deal I could find on one brand new 2023 model was around $17,000. That is without the loader. And when you click on the loader options at pretty much every dealer website, it says call for price. So I'm guessing they're just making it up as they go. How they choose, that's the wrong socket. Weight-wise, the 1025 and this, they look to be pretty similar on the spec sheet whenever you include the loader on it. Horsepower-wise, the 1025 is 23.8 on the spec sheet. This is 20. PTO on the 1025 is 18, and this is 15. So it's got a touch more horsepower. But the lifting capacity on the 3-point on this is close to 800 pounds. I think it's like 785. And on the 1025R, it's like 681. So this will actually lift more on the 3-point. Let's flop that around. The loader capacity on the 755, and I'm going to say loader capacity stock, is about 700 pounds at the pins, and it's about 1,500 pounds breakout force on the bucket itself. And on the 1025, it was 825 pounds at the pins lifting and 1,800 pounds breakout at the bucket. But on this tractor, Neil Koff from Neil Koff Dig Drive DIY, he installed a shim kit on their relief valve, which means their relief valve doesn't kick off until a higher pressure, which means we get a little bit more lift out of the loader on this. They use this 70A loader on larger 55 series tractors, so we're well within the lifting capacity of the loader as far as anything breaking. And I think as long as we use a little common sense, we shouldn't have any issues. So I would say loader capacity wise, we're pretty much the same. The lift height to that pin though on this machine is 77 inches, and the lift height on the 1025 is 71 inches. Also, it is worth noting now, all this information is off the spec sheets. Tractor Time with Tim has some fantastic videos on his channel of actually measuring lift height and loader capacity and that kind of thing using some scales and, well, just a good old-fashioned tape measure. He's got awesome information on these tractors, the 1025s that is. So if you want the actual information, not just what the spec sheet says, Tractor Time with Tim is where you need to go for that. So performance-wise, they're pretty much the same tractor still, except there are some things on this tractor, just the way it's built, that I like better. I'll show you here in a minute what I'm talking about. I will say one attraction to the older machines, though, is that everything on here, linkage-wise, it's all mechanical. I don't have any sensors to worry about as far as that goes. My electrics are my fuel shut-off solenoid, my lights, my hazards, and some temp sensors and things like that. Aside from that, there's nothing electric on here. So they ran their battery cables straight through the box, and they've got the rubber grommets on there, and that all looks in good shape, but it kind of locks that lid into place. We've got to disconnect the ground anyway, so we'll just disconnect the ground strap there, and we can flop that over. And I did think, well, maybe I should just upgrade and get a little bit bigger compact tractor, maybe go up to 25 or 30 horse. There are times where I think, well, if I had a little bit more power, but now that we've got the 555 backhoe for the heavy lifting, I really find that this is the perfect size machine for the cleanup work around that 555. We're gonna go and get this linkage off next. That's the throttle that runs up to there. So it just makes sense to me if there's nothing new and fancy on the newer tractors aside from some shiny paint. Doesn't really make any sense for me to spend that much money on something that I already have here. Well, I want to show you on this loader connection, this is back when common sense engineering was a thing that existed. Look at their loader mount. It's just square tubing, nothing fancy. Runs from one side all the way to the other side, through the frame. Good old regular steel that if I bend, tweak, or break, I can fix with my welder. The front bracket is just a beefy piece of regular mild steel that if I bend or break, I can fix with my welder. There it is on the other side. Comes all the way through the frame. So if you're using the loader and you're putting a whole lot of pressure on this side, it kind of helps transfer that load. Nowadays, they just have the big old beefy cast bracket that's just bolted onto the side. And on the tractor groups I follow on Facebook, you see those bolts breaking all the time. And I'm not saying that those bolts can't break, but I can fix anything that breaks there. I can't fix the big cast knuckle. I don't have that ability. Plus, I just feel like this transfers any of that excess force we're putting on it. I feel like it transfers it better. Instead of all being on one bracket, it kind of gives it a little bit of extra room. Maybe I'm looking at it all wrong. Call me crazy if a fellow wishes, but it just seems like a little bit better loader bracket design, in my opinion. I'm thinking this bolt and the same on the other side is what holds this bracket in and probably slides out. I do have the tech manual, and the tech manual will tell you step by step how to do these repairs, but I'm just feeling a bit adventurous today, so we're just doing whatever feels right. Does it do anything? Maybe some wiggles. Well, let's just keep taking stuff off. When in doubt, part it out. That's what I sometimes say. Oh, there's another bolt. Let's see. There's a second bolt right there on each side. And those brackets are off. This is just out of the way. There's those right there that hold that. And then they just sit on that pin on each side. So there's nothing holding it down anymore other than the actual radiator hoses. So we got to drain it. And they've got a handy dandy little drain on this side. Well, a tube on it. And well, there's some stuff in there. I think I should be able to just pull this off here now. Maybe. So both fuel lines and this harness run down through that bracket there. I think I gotta get those off. So I got these two connections right here for the oil cooler. Let's get rid of the old razzle dazzle real quick here. Well, this one's spinning off with the vibrations of this other one, but it just won't go. Oh, that hurt. Okay. I wonder if we just take the whole thing out together. Can we do that? Can I slide this out? Oh, yeah. We can. And then I bet we can just lean the radiator forward. Okay. Okay. And I bet I can I just lean you forward? I can. I absolutely can. Well, pretty close. Watch my cooler lines over here. Oh, there you go. Drop it. Yeah, see? Okay. So I have no reason to believe that that radiator is in bad shape. It's never given me any issues, but this is the time we're taking everything off. I just want to send it off somewhere to people that actually do radiators and say, hey, good or not, then we'll go from there. So we've got some electrical on this side and then some bolts to disconnect the engine from the powertrain. But not too much wire in here. And then the tack wire, which runs, the common wire runs right into there. Starter, alternator. This is just hanging out. Looks like a ground that is supposed to go somewhere and isn't. Well, that's something I'm going to have to check out. So we're also just going to go ahead and take the alternator off. We'll do this top bolt so I can roll it out towards me. Make it a little bit easier to get to the wiring. We're going to send it off to get tested. There's a local guy that rebuilds starters and alternators. I also already have in my possession the OEM belt to replace this belt. Look at this thing. Not only is the outside just gone, the inside is also not looking great. Don't break it. There we go. Got an extension on a ratchet down the back side. That's the nut I just took off. There's also a nut on that side, and I think that's just a threaded stud that runs through there. I think a fella could, if you needed, to take it off either side. So there's interference here with where that comes out and that engine mount. You can see I marred that up a little bit. The shiny part, that's okay. Where that comes out, there's interference to that mount. So I don't know if you're supposed to take that mount off or you're supposed to loose the mounts and then push the engine up a little bit and then slide it out. I don't know, but this piece, this bolt, does thread all the way through. So what I did is I just double nutted this end of it, and then we're just spinning that stud out. And I can rotate it out and pull it out that way. Injection lines out. And we got the glow plugs to undo. I guess I just need to really undo this first one. I just about got the wiring off of here. They got it tucked behind this bolt, and I feel like if it was newer, I'd just try to force it out, but I don't want to break anything as far as the wiring goes. So we'll just back that bolt out. It just holds that bracket right there for the alternator. I think I can just take those 1, 2, 3 bolts out, and that'll disconnect it there. Access from the bottom side really isn't bad. Get a ratchet straight on it. Try the old flexible breaker bar instead. So it appears we're going to have to take the intake off to be able to get these to spin off. So not that big of a deal. We can knock that out real quick. So this little filter bolt comes off. And that gives us access down below here. We got to take this off anyway, so let's just go ahead and get it out of the way. One massive intake. One injector. I'll go ahead and continue with the disassembly. We're going to get some new shoes on here. These are just pretty worn out turf tires. And this one's so dry, rot, and cracked that it just doesn't hold air anymore. Good news is, this one's only flat on the bottom. So I went to check the tech manual real quick because I wanted to look at this pump because I was thinking I remembered something specific last time I did a little bit of work to it. and that is that the timing for this engine runs off of how this pump is shimmed. When I looked at the tech manual, it said absolutely last-ditch effort, take this pump apart and do anything with it. It suggests, which makes sense, of course, fuel filter first, transfer pump, which is down here. It's got a little electronic transfer pump. I think the 955s and the 855s have a mechanical pump. I could be wrong on that, but this one's got an electronic transfer pump, and then of course the injectors. So last-ditch effort, the book says mess with the pump. Well, we're going to make that the last-ditch effort. We'll check out the transfer pump, probably just get a different one. The injectors we'll send off to area diesel service. Roll a little tap and see what it. There we go. We'll see if we can get these exhaust off here. Probably not like this, but yeah. Off there. Mount. Off the manifold. Get on there. All right. Grab a little tap. It's an adorable little manifold off. Should be able to slide this through the other side. There we go. I'm going to see if I can double nut these studs and get these studs out of here so that whenever I take this to the machine shop, they can surface every surface that has a gasket. We don't have any issues. Beautiful. And the valve cover. Well, the oil pump's definitely working. No doubt about that. Got me a little stand built for the head bolts here. No wonder I couldn't find it. It's hanging where it belongs. That's going with it. I mean, they don't look. They look bad at all. Let me zip those 4 mounts off there, and we'll see if we can at least get it hanging by the hoist. I'm sure I could have muscled that out myself, but it's a little bit handier. Now this explains the issue I was having getting the isolator unbolted. This is what it felt like, was that the rubber parts were broken. And you can see by the pattern on the rubber, they've been wallering around in there. You can also look at them and see that wear pattern? That's not normal. That right there, that's not normal. And the main seal, the seal we got leaking, is going to be behind that. So I need to get that off yet. A few days later, a little bit of inclement weather today. I got a couple hours. Let's go ahead and get the bottom end off this thing and see what we're looking like. I know what you're thinking. Did this fella just tear down a tractor that was running a few minutes ago? Yeah, I sure did. And you're thinking, well, why would you go through the trouble of doing that? Remember, I want this thing to last at least another 10 years. And had we not pulled that water pump out, it's definitely either out or going out. And the radiator is empty now, which means there's a hole in it somewhere because of the way it's sitting there. We wouldn't have known about that, or the water pump And we definitely got to do this bearing anyway. So we're doing some preventative maintenance. So if I don't tear this thing all the way down, then I'm not going to know everything that's wrong with it. And if I don't know everything that's wrong with it, then I can't get everything fixed or preventative maintenance-wise replaced before it has an absolutely catastrophic failure. That's my mindset anyway. So the good news is I did get in contact with Area Diesel Service, which if you haven't worked with them or heard about them, we worked with them on the 555. They kind of specialize in like turbos and fuel injection systems, but if it's on a diesel engine or in a diesel engine, they can normally track down those parts for you. I got to get some information off of this today. I think I want to pop off this little flex plate next. Is it a flex plate or is it a flywheel? That's good for things. I'm sure it's good for it to just be hanging there like that by the head bolts. Probably should have caught that better. Thing slides on a dowel, it looks like. I don't know how easy it's gonna come off there. Take this little shield off so I can get my fingers behind there a little easier. It's supposed to come all the way off? It's supposed to be one band, you think? Kind of looks that way. I take this stud here all the way out. Okay. Yeah, I think that's supposed to be one piece with the other half of it. All right, there's some wiggles. What was that? So there's just this little dowel right there. Once you take the bolts out, it went through the dowel hole there. Kind of held it in place for us. A few little wiggles, she popped right out of there. And this is going to be the seal that is causing our oil leak. This seal right here. Because our engine mounts are broke, there's excessive vibration. This runs back through the transmission, which means this is just getting the heck shook out of it. And that seal there, probably the cause of that. RTV, now that's surprising, around the oil pan. And I bought this from a dealer, and I've never had that oil pan off. Doesn't look like I need to take that off, because it's not attached to the oil pan. These appear to be tin, they are. Is there oil pan bolts going to it? Oh yeah, there are. Two on the bottom. There are two, one there and one there, from the oil pan that go onto that. That's gonna hold it the last little bit. I don't know if I can, maybe. Where are they at? Not there, not there. I'm over here hunching over, like I can't just lift this up a little more. Okay, there's more than two. I'm just blind. So I have all but one bolt out of the oil pan. It's probably held on pretty good by the RTV too. So we're gonna lower it down just a little bit. And an absolute wild way to drain the oil, we're just gonna pop this pan off over the drain pan. And then I imagine we'll have to pry it since there's some RTV on it. There we go. I just want to see if there's anything shiny that comes out here. I mean, it's dirty, but it's not glittery. So, well, let's see if we can get that seal to pop off there. Maybe some gentle taps with a dead blow. There, it's coming. Pop this oil pickup tube off just so it doesn't get damaged, since it's kind of out and vulnerable. We can go ahead and pop those caps off and just visually inspect what the bearings look like on there. But I gave it a couple spin arounds. Nothing's loose or chattering. It honestly feels pretty good. Like, I know what I'm talking about, but there's nothing that's jumping out. Like, this piece is completely gone or missing. So I think that's a good sign. I'm encouraged by that. We have a ton of cleanup to do. Get this whole tractor out and turn this whole thing into a clean room whenever we go to reassemble this thing, and clean every part really thoroughly. They're the same on both sides. Okay, it's got a stamp on that side. I can just say the stamped side. is this side. I'll make a note. Stamp side's oil filter side. Look at, hopefully that shows up. They don't look bad. There's nothing obvious. No gouging, no pitting, nothing that just looks unusual or unordinary about it. It just looks perfectly smooth. So the only main issue that could have is it's just worn past what is acceptable by the metric or whatever the standard is in the tech manual. The rod's got a stamp on this side and so does the cap. It's got a little anomaly in it there, but again, nothing alarming. Yeah, nothing wild. I mean, there's a little bit there, but for the hours, fella's not going to be surprised about it. I do plan on pulling the pistons all the way out and replacing the rings. Again, we're this far into it. It'd be a silly thing to not do. It'd be silly to not just go ahead and pull each piston out then if we're doing that. Let's just do it. My top fear is just launching this thing to the moon right now on accident. Uh-oh. That was further than I wanted. We okay? No, we're okay. That was it. That was my fear. You think a fellow would have learned his lesson? Oh, I caught one. All right. I don't know if you can see the dump truck parts in the background, but we've been doing some work on the dump truck as well. Same thing, just been fighting the weather. I asked for storage ideas for one of these engine hoists. The best idea that a few people mentioned was you just let a friend borrow it for a couple years, and then when you need it again, you just ask for it back. So honestly, I'm pretty happy. Some unexpected things that isolator I didn't expect to be that bad. The water pump I definitely didn't expect, and I didn't know the radiator had a leak. So I'm glad we got those tracked down. And then some pleasant surprises. The inside of this thing looks awesome. We're this far into it. If Air Diesel Service can track down a complete rebuild kit with pistons, rings, rods, and bearings, then that's what we'll do. If not, we may just throw some new bearings in it, see what the plastic gauge says, and then go from there. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with the progress. Don't expect anything on this for a while. We got a bunch of stuff to send off, the starter, the alternator, the radiator. We got stuff to send off to see if it can be repaired, and if not, then we got to get stuff ordered and a ton of parts to get in, including working with Area Diesel Service out of Indianapolis and getting some stuff from them. So it's going to take a while to get everything tracked down and in here, and I don't want to start on it until we got everything. Looking at it in this state, it's a little overwhelming, but I'm still convinced this is the best compact tractor series that John Deere ever made, and I think it's going to be worth the work. Definitely cheaper than buying a new one, that's for sure. Oh, just smile through the pain, Mike. It's all going to be okay.